Okay, here's my Christian experience. I grew up all my life going to church. Never knew what the preacher talked about.
Wow.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
I don't remember Vacation Bible School. I know I went. Lived in the house with a mother. God love her. She really didn't commit her life to Christ until after I committed my life to Christ.
Okay.
We were two older women.
Okay.
Who committed our life to Christ. We did not know. I remember going to college, North Carolina A&T.
All right.
And I went into this minister's church. A friend of mine invited me. And that preacher stood on the pulpit and he shared how he went to A&T and how he used to love smoking marijuana.
Wow.
He said, I loved it so much I would take the roach and stick it up my nose. And I thought, this is a brother I can learn from.
Okay.
Because he was relatable.
Relatable.
He was real.
Yeah.
He did not. I was a college student. He wasn't teaching to me from where he is now.
Right.
He was teaching to me from where he came from.
Right.
When you hide what you've been through, I don't think I can relate to you.
Right.
Even in, I do speaking engagements, right? And one of the methods they teach us is called the dip. You start by saying, okay, this is who I am, but this is where I used to be.
Right.
And then you bring yourself back up.
Right.
Preachers don't do that.
Right.
Preachers don't do that. Preachers, this is where I am. This is who I am. This is what I do in the name of Jesus. And so guess what? You're missing a whole group of people because they think I can't relate to him.
Absolutely.
I don't. Oh man, my life is not that good. I'm still cussing. I'm still drinking. I'm still mad with my daddy. I'm still, can't get along with my husband. And this preacher, he pray when he feels sad and down.
Right.
He doesn't
Right.
give into you when we share our honesty.
Right. Transparency.
I go because if I can't meet you here, right?
Right.
I can't. And I've had so many speaking engagements where afterwards, particularly if it's an engagement where it's me and another speaker,
Right.
the line is long over here. And my husband said, babe, you did good. I said, no, I connected with them because I was willing to dip.
Right.
I let them hear
Right.
those parts of me because, like you said, listening to my bio, when I read my bio, I'm like, well, she's the bomb. But when I'm home by myself.
And rightfully so.
Right. But when I'm home by myself, I'm like, oh, my Lord, what am I going to do?
Right.
Because my soul wound of rejection is at the house waiting for me.
That's amazing because particularly with us in ministry, we are so busy trying to build this picture that we got it together. When in reality, those folks in the pews really want to see us and understand. And when I say see us, they want to see us. They want to know that here's one that's got issues just like me.
Yes.
As I teach and preach, I'm saved, but I'm not all the way saved. I'm still a work.
Got some deliverance.
Yeah, God's still working on me in some areas. And I think sometimes it's that honesty that really makes all the difference. And I think about something you shared with us the other night, where oftentimes we are patterning ourselves. We're conforming, as Paul says, to the patterns of the world.
Yeah.
That's what the world does.
Look good.
Yeah.
Let's look good.
The world covers it up.
Yeah.
The world sweeps it under the rug.
We're not supposed to.
But we're not supposed to. No. We have to be able to show folks, I used to be there.
That's right.
And in some areas,
I'm
still there.
Yeah.
But for the grace of God.
Loves me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the word because, my daughter had asked me something one time about one Samson, and then another time it was about Jacob's story. And I thought, well, let me read the details of Jacob's story. I was so tickled. This is the Real Housewives.
In more ways than one. Yeah.
A man who's married to two sisters.
Yeah.
But the reason I say that, I love to read the scripture from that way, right? One, it lets me be real.
Absolutely.
Because here's what I loved about Jacob's story. When all this craziness was going on, Leah over here having babies, but her husband don't love her.
Right.
Rachel over here wishing she can have babies, and her husband adore her.
Right.
She can't have babies. They hating on each other. They at each other's throat. How dare you? You got my man, now you want my son's food. They at each other, right? But in the midst of that, it says, and God kept blessing Jacob.
Over and over again.
We do is folk, we say, the Lord don't bless mess. And I said, well, what is more messy than that right there?
Listen.
What's more messy than right? And what we should say is, even in your foolishness, God has a way of coming into it. Because he still wants to heal those places that make you act foolish.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's okay because
Absolutely.
he understands you're doing it from your wound. You're doing it from a belief and a thought that doesn't align with who he is.
Right.
But when we can begin to recognize that, oh my God, let me tell you one of the wonderful things. When I begin to learn that, oh, I feel rejected because I believe that as a little girl, daddy picked them and not me. So I have this whole spirit.
Wow.
These things become spirits.
Wow.
I have this whole spirit that's on me of rejection, so that no matter what I do, it's like putting on sunglasses. All I can see is rejection. Nothing is good enough.
Right.
When God starts showing that to me, he's like, I need you to start pulling those glasses off, pulling those scabs from your eyes. But you got to understand, this spirit is always going to bother you. What do I do, Lord? He says, bring it to me every time. Don't go whining about it to your husband. Don't go, like, I used to go to places. I go to the room, walk in, hey, how y'all doing? People say I was soft-spoken. I never saw myself as soft-spoken, right?
Okay.
But the shy me, the reserved me,
Yeah.
the 12-year-old me can be very soft-spoken.
Right.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm in an environment, one, I might be the only black woman in the room. So now I'm a little shy. I'm insecure because my soul wound says
Right.
they going to reject you.
The minute
They
you
don't
come-
even
right.
want you here.
Right.
So and I said, hey, don't nobody hear me. Now I'm going to go sit in a corner. I'm not mingling. And at the end of the night, I get to go home and tell my husband how those mean folks, and Lord, don't let them be good Christian folk, because I'm going to talk junk about y'all. They call themselves Christian.
Oh,
and
gosh.
They weren't even friendly to me. Well, I showed up in my wounded self, so I went and found a seat so I could go play my pity party in my own mind. I needed to prove my mind right. The brain wants to do whatever you tell it, right? It wants to make true whatever you tell it. I already told myself when I walk in there, they don't even want me there.
Right.
So then I went and found me a seat.
Wow.
So I ain't interacting with nobody to prove that they don't want me there. So that at the end of the night, when I haven't really connected with anyone, because I've done nothing to connect with anyone but sit in my pity party chair and talk about them. Look at them over there laughing, talking. Nobody even come say hi to me. Nobody come greet me because I need to be rejected. Now I can go home with my wonderful story. Andre.
Wow.
Guess what they did? Not even realizing I was participating. And so when God began to reveal this wound to me, he says, Caneisha, you have to replace these messages.
Right.
You got to renew your mind with a new message.
Right.
And I said, okay, Lord, what can that message be? He says, well, first know that I love you. I fully accept you.
Wow.
You're so worthy to me.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? And I'm like, I can try.
Wow.
I can try to believe that.
Wow.
And so I would sit and I would pray and I would say, Lord, thank you for loving me. Thank you for accepting me. Thank you for receiving me. Thank you for making me wonderful. Thank you for, and then I would tell myself, I am about to go into this place and I'm an amazing person.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm going to meet some amazing people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I show up from that place, Pastor, I'm meeting everybody in the room. Hey, how you doing? I'm Caneisha. Da, 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 da. And I would have the best time. And I would leave with people's names and people would leave knowing me because I changed my story.
Wow.
I renewed my mind before I walked in there.
That's it.
I went in there from who God called me to be and not from my soul.
Right.
My wound didn't come to the party.
Right.
Caneisha came to the party.
Yeah.
The Caneisha God says, you are loving, you are accepting. I died, my son died for you. Girl, if you don't get that, if that ain't love.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's a different person that shows up, Pastor.
Sure.
So then you begin to go, oh, I believe that because my dad did this or my mom wasn't that. And God says, I know that's what you believe. And I know that's the experience you think you had. But believe what I say.
Wow.
And can you bathe yourself in that? Can you present that to me? And here's the thing. This is what's happening to a lot of ministers. And the reason they're struggling in their churches sometimes with their people and feeling like they got to prove their worth. God can't heal what he doesn't reveal.
That's true. That's definitely true.
So if you're going to church every Sunday and you feel like they don't accept me, they don't love me, they don't appreciate me, God is saying, bring that wound to me.
Right.
I need to show you rejection. I need to let you feel unappreciated so that you can admit that I feel unaccepted. I feel unappreciated.
Yeah.
And it's not them, it's I don't even really accept me.
Wow.
I don't really appreciate me. I don't even see my worth and value. So God can say, yes, now that you brought that to me,
Wow.
baby, now let me bathe you in my love. so that you don't have to continue to live that out.
So how do we overcome that spirit of denial? Because oftentimes that's what it is. We know it's there,
Yeah.
but we're in denial. Even in ministry, we sometimes, and I can only talk about me, sometimes I beat myself up when I don't think I have met the mark in ministry, or I haven't done what I thought I could have done. Or sometimes, my wife says I'm a perfectionist to the point that, you overthink some things.
Yeah.
How do you get to that place that you are basically saying, okay, I'm in denial about this. I got to be honest. Somebody else has already told me I need to work on, JT, you overthinking this, and in the back of my mind, no, I'm not really. I'm just feeling like I'm not good enough. Where do I get to that point that I stop living in denial and say, okay, now that it's been revealed, I need to heal from this?
So, I love this part, right? This takes work, and it takes time.
Yeah.
It's the awareness of who do I become when I'm in denial.
Okay.
So the awareness makes you go, that, like, to me, healing is awareness. Because there are some things God steps in and he heals immediately, right?
Sure,
But there are some things we're going to have to deal with over our life.
Absolutely.
But healing is awareness. Awareness means, because I now understand this, I don't have to make the same choices.
Wow. Okay.
So, you know that denial is a spirit for you. Be aware of that. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm aware that
yeah.
there's a denial spirit.
Yeah.
So when someone comes and says, TJ, you're overthinking this, instead of going, maybe they're wrong, consider, well, what, ask them, if you can't recognize it yourself, what does it look like to you when I'm overthinking?
Okay.
And then listen to what they offer you. I see you over there pondering. You've been talking about this for a week. I've heard you say this. You've done this before. Just go, do it.
Right.
And you're like, okay. But the awareness lets you begin to recognize, who am I when I'm choosing or being in the wound?
Wow.
So if the wound is denial, you got to really get clear about how do I act?
Yeah.
What do I feel? What do I think? What do I believe? How do I speak? That level of living, I always say, like, I have one client. I love my clients. I worked with a gentleman one time, and he started doing the work, and he called me when it wasn't a client day. And I was like, what's up? He said, I need naps. I never take naps. What's this about? I said, this work
That's
is
a man after my own heart. Right.
Yeah. I said, you just started something new. You are now literally thinking about what you're thinking about.
Wow.
And you're going to need a nap.
Yeah.
So that is okay. He says, thank you, Caneisha. All right. I just needed to know what was happening to me.
Now that I know. Yeah.
Because it becomes a little exhausting when you're first doing it, because it's something you've never done before.
Wow.
Right? It's like exercise.
Right.
And it's very new, so you're causing yourself to challenge what you're thinking. The Bible has a lot of scriptures that tells us, like, be cautious about thinking, protect our mind, those kind of things.
Right.
How do you, if you ain't never mentally tired, you ain't checking for nothing, or you're exhausting yourself from other stuff.
And we can all agree that ministry is more mentally draining than it is physical. There are some physical pieces to it, but it is more mental.
It's spiritual.
You are, as the Word of God says, we are covering the souls of people.
Think about that now. Think about if you are covering the souls of people, you're covering the way people think.
Yes.
You're covering their emotions.
Right.
You are covering their behaviors.
Right.
Isn't that exhausting to have?
Absolutely. Meanwhile, I got to take care of me too.
Yes. And then you got your wife, and then you got your kids. And nothing you can't. I'm like, is there a pause button?
Right.
Please put some stuff on pause.
Right. While we're there, let's talk a little bit about that. All right, because I'm curious to know, especially dealing with pastors who are bivocational, pastors who, of course, are ministering but also working in other fields. How did your soul wound, or shall I say knowledge of your soul wound, really become effective not only in ministry but in your career field? How did that come? I mean, and I'm thinking about some of our followers who are in the field of education, they're teachers, principals, things of that nature, and not realizing that many times some of the things that we are affected by in ministry can actually spill over into the professional world.
Yeah.
So with that being said, my question to you is, how did that sort of parlay? How did you deal with that soul wound in the professional realm?
Oh man, honestly, I spent 13 years working and not aware of the wound, and so it was just horrible.
Wow.
I did not know how to appreciate anything. I wasn't awakened to the notion that God uses everything.
Right.
Do you know why I wrote the book 5 Ways to Conquer Fear?
Okay.
It's because God used my journey to show me that.
Wow.
He had put in my spirit, he was like, do a workshop on 5 Ways to Conquer Fear. I was like, Lord, I don't even know 5 Ways to Conquer Fear. He's like, promote it. I'm like, what? I don't know 5 ways to conquer fear.
Like,
but
what
I do
part
my best,
of?
right, but I do my best to be obedient. So here I am promoting a workshop that I have no idea
Wow.
what I'm going to teach.
Wow.
And when he began to reveal to me where the fear was in my life, he took me to my jobs. So after I left the television station, I worked for a nonprofit Christian organization. So I love the ministry that they were doing there, but I struggled in the environment.
Okay.
Because what they would do is, the men that worked there, anything they would ask you to do that you was opposed to, not, wrong stuff, but just like I was a graphic designer. My manager had I thought the dude was colorblind. His vision was off.
Wow.
But anytime he so-called didn't like it, he couldn't explain what he didn't like about the graphic, which as a designer, you need to know what part don't you like so I know where to take this.
Right.
I don't know, I just don't like it. But then he was quick to also tell me, and if this falls flat, I'm blaming you for it.
Wow.
And then when I would question that, he would throw scripture at me about authority. Fun place to work.
Yeah. That's an awesome environment, right?
Yeah. And so I struggled there, but when God began to reveal to me these 5 ways to conquer fear, he began to teach me that my fear was rejection.
Okay.
And so he began to show me how on my job. And he said, I've been trying to show you this. I tried to show it to you when you worked for a television station. You wouldn't engage with me in this place. Then I took you to this little environment, and you still wouldn't engage with me in this place. Right. And so that's what's happening on our jobs. We are in places, and we're like the people in the Israelites. We're complaining.
Oh my. Yeah.
We at work complaining instead of seeing, Lord, what is it that you want to reveal about me in this place?
Right.
What area in my life do you want to heal in me in this place? See, this is what I think is funny. Growing up in the church, I would hear people say, don't pray for patience, because then you got to have a test to be patient.
Right.
Do we not realize that word for every spirit?
Right.
People will say, Lord, please take this fear from me. But then he got to put you in a fearful situation
to move that from you.
So you can have the experience to not walk in fear.
Absolutely.
Rejection is a fear spirit. So he was putting me in a job that rejected me constantly because he knew that this was the spirit that needed to be revealed in me. Right. And until, Caneisha, you come face to face with this spirit, you're going to miss all the blessings I have for you.
Wow. So really, when we think about the soul wounds, how many of those soul wounds are actually coming from a spirit of fear?
Oh, yeah. They all are.
A spirit of intimidation. Yeah. Many times, particularly with us in ministry, and I'm jumping back there, and then we're going to come back to this career piece. Yeah. Many times in ministry, that's where a lot of stuff sort of originates. Yeah. Because in a lot of ways, we're launching out into some things we've never launched out into before.
That's it.
We're doing things we're not. Yeah. Really, and I think about Peter now. We're stepping out of this boat, and we're walking on the water, and everything is wonderful, everything is fine,
for
and
all 2 minutes.
Then this wind comes and wait, time out.
Are you still the same guy?
Now you got me sinking. I'm about to drown. Look here, you got to come help me with this. So how do we, as ministers, and I'm really thinking about those bivocational pastors right now, how do we say that now that I know this is real, I got to deal with this? Because if, like you were saying, if that soul wound of rejection, if I'll use it at this point, that soul wound of rejection in the TV studio parlays over into ministry.
Yeah. And it will.
Yeah. It's got to be dealt with.
Yeah.
You know.
And the only thing, like even for me, now, trust me, think about this. I have been, I'm 2 weeks from completing my degree in pastoral counseling.
Right.
Again, here I am being obedient to God, right? Because when I look at the numbers and I look at the research of being a therapist, I didn't even know that I wanted to do this.
Wow.
What I knew was, I said, Lord, years ago, I made a commitment. I'm never going back to college. I hate university. No, thank you.
Right.
And when I felt God moving on but I did always say this. I said, but Lord, if I was to go back, it had to be to learn more about your word.
Okay.
That would be because I love the word.
Yeah.
And so when I felt called into pastoral counseling, here I was again, just like a life coach, whatever that means. Right. And people say, oh, you're going into ministry. I said, I'm not going into ministry.
Right.
This is how naive I was.
Right.
I'm not going into ministry. Caneisha, you're going to school to be a pastoral counselor. I know, but why do y'all think they have anything to do with ministry?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Why don't you?
Yeah.
Right? So what God had begun to show me, this is me stepping out on faith, having no idea, didn't know, because I thought, how am I going to earn an income?
Right.
Because when you do the research, you find that clinical can file insurance, pastoral counselors can't.
Right.
So I'm like, who's going to pay me? How is it going to work? Da-da-da. So here's that fear of rejection again. Now I have to come into this new world. I've been out of the country.
Yeah.
I got to come back and meet new ministers.
Right.
Who are these people? Why would they trust me?
Right.
All of that. But in order for me to show up, I have to tell the Spirit, get thee behind me.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
How would I have met you
Absolutely.
if I stayed home because of my spirit of rejection?
Absolutely.
Right.
Shout out to LaTanya Agard, by the way. Yeah, definitely shout out to Tanya Agard.
And how would I have met her?
Absolutely.
If my spirit of rejection would have said, who do you think you are? She's a doctor. Dr. Agard, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
Because that's what my mind would tell me.
Wow.
It's the awareness. What does the Spirit tell you? This is why. And so when you're on these jobs, and how is this going to show up? God is trying to take you to a different level. He always, like God, you got to remember, nothing God does. I love David's story because David was in the fields when he was told he was going to be a king.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a 16-year-old boy, chill outside?
Right.
In today's world, more in the grass.
Absolutely.
You're going to be a king.
Uh-huh.
Bro, don't get out of here. You're crazy. I ain't got nothing but this grass and this
Absolutely.
lawnmower. I had to borrow the gas from somebody else. Like, I don't have nothing.
Right.
I'm going to be a king.
Right.
So God will call us into something. And then if we watch David's story, he was called into leadership. Now, when I heard the story about David, I thought David, when he was running and hiding from Saul, I thought David was by himself.
Okay.
When you read the story, David had some people with him.
Had some people with him. Sure did.
And then if you read it deep enough, like at one point it's like 300. Then it's like 600. Then it's this. How do you become a leader if you have nobody to follow you?
Absolutely.
So David was being trained to be a leader of a nation, but he had to start with a small amount of numbers.
Absolutely.
You're on your job to be trained to be something. When you get stuck in complaining, you miss it. When you allow that spirit of fear, denial, abandonment, rejection to rule your life, you're going to be on these jobs and you're going to be missing why God has you there.
Absolutely.
You will not get the training that he's trying to train you for the next level.
Yeah.
It was on my job as at that nonprofit that, you ever heard of divorce care and grief share?
Yes.
I worked at that company.
Okay.
When I began my coaching program, right, and I was coaching people and I was doing it the way the school was saying, I was like, this ain't working. These people need some understanding before I can draw out of them where they're trying to go.
Right.
So I said, how would I do this? I thought about Church Initiative. I thought about the way they did their, we record videos, we do workbooks, and then we teach. That's how theirs is built. Right. My coaching programs are built on the same platform. I was being trained in that environment.
Okay.
So even though I still was struggling with the spirit of rejection, I did still have enough reflection to know that God, he uses everything.
Absolutely.
So what we have to understand is, yes, the spirit is always trying to keep you from, the demonic spirit is always trying to keep you from the promises of God. And when you become into awareness that, my soul wound will allow a spirit to connect to me
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't belong to me.
Right.
That spirit is trying to rob you of a future that God has for you. That's when you want to get in battle. Because whenever you can focus on the promise.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But Lord,
yeah.
you promised me.
Yeah.
You show me this in
Yeah.
dreams. Every time I go somewhere, people tell me this about myself, and it hasn't come to be yet. Are you going to, then when you're sitting around and you're feeling sorry for yourself and you having self-doubt and low self-esteem, when you can become into the awareness, this is trying to keep me from my dream.
Absolutely.
This thought and belief is trying to keep me from the very thing God has for me. Now you want to get healed. Now you want to get into action. Now you want to bring that thing to God because you're aware that, oh, all this is. All it is, first of all it is a thought.
That's it.
It's a thought.
That's it.
Let me take this thought captive. Right. Great is he that is in me,
Right.
that is in the world. This thought has come from the world.
Right.
I'm going to walk into who God called me to be. And then in every job I have, I'm here to gain something for the next step. I teach that to my children.
Yeah.
My son is 19 years old. This summer, I recognized in Bryson at 3 or 4 years old that he was a leader. Plain and simple. It was already done. I'm like, that spirit of leadership is all over this boy.
Yeah.
But boy, what you don't have is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding
Yeah, right,
at 3,
right,
4 years old.
Right.
But I spoke that to him. I've been speaking that to him all his life.
Wow.
And if you speak into him that he's a leader, then everywhere he goes, he expects to be put in leadership positions.
Absolutely.
When he's in the classroom and the teacher needs someone to lead this group, why would my son sit in the back waiting to be led? He knows himself to be a leader.
Right.
He's like, Mom, even during the times I'm trying to let somebody else lead, somehow I still end up being the leader because it's
It's in you.
It's in him.
It's in you. Right.
right. David was told at 16.
Absolutely.
So I just had enough sense to call his gift out
Right,
early
right,
in him.
right.
This child took a job this year, his first job at a camp where he was supposed to be kind of the person who took care of the leader. He called us Mom and Dad. You know, they gave me the job as the leader. Well, Rice, where's the surprise in that?
Right. Right.
You've been called to that. So what we have to understand is that we're all been called to something. But the problem is we listen to the calling that we weren't called to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the wound. The wound starts when you're little, it develops, and then we hold on to it. We make it like ours. I even tell people, you think it's your identity.
Right.
But this is how I am.
Right. Right.
That ain't how you're supposed to be.
That's not what he
That ain't
created.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I always got an attitude. That ain't who you are.
You know, it's major to me because when I look at ministers, and I say this with the greatest love for young preachers, they are my passion because my heart's desire is that they prosper by my mistakes.
Wow.
Learn from the mistakes I made.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
That's what wisdom
Prosper from it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to make that same mistake. You don't have to go down the same road if somebody else has gone down that road.
Right.
But oftentimes what I see is young preachers in particular are in this mindset and in this place where I feel like I got to prove something. I feel like I got to prove something. If I don't prove it, I'm not going to be accepted. If I don't prove it, you know, they won't invite me to preach. They won't invite me to minister. And so I realize now, especially in our conversations, this comes from something that was deep-seated way back.
Yeah.
So sometimes even in ministry, we can allow ourselves to fall into this trap of I'm dealing with right now, but I haven't dealt with yesterday. You know, so some young preachers who have dealt with some betrayal that happened before ministry, rejection before ministry, as you say, shame, which is a big one, before ministry, but I haven't dealt with it. And now here I am moving into what God has called and assigned me to do.
Get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, but I haven't dealt with it yet.
I got you.
I haven't dealt with it, which really brings me to that next piece that I really would love for you to touch on, okay? We've talked about what the soul wounds are, and we've talked about the fact that they do exist. Some of them are deep-seated.
Yeah.
Some of them are new. Some of them are fresh.
Yeah.
But I think the big question is, how do we heal? What's the process in healing? Because if you don't heal, you know, the reality of it is, If I don't deal with it,
Yeah,
it's going to deal, it's dealing with me. It is. And what's going to end up happening is not only is it going to deal with me, it's dealing with everything and everybody that is connected to me.
Yes.
You know, if I don't deal with this issue, then it's going to end up dealing with the people I'm trying to tell how to get to heaven.
Yes.
You know, and tell them how to get their lives right with the Lord. Well, no, hold up. You deal with you first.
Right, right.
You know, that's the key. So my question is, what's the process?
Yeah.
You know, I'm an analytical thinker. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
What's the process? What are the tools? What is the direction to which we heal from these wounds?